to you
Okay.
is I saw you. I'm gonna say it was in 2009.
Okay.
2009 at McMullen's. I was on a march. It was during St. Baldrick's. It's my first
Okay.
St. Baldrick's event, and you guys played. And when I was younger, my formative years in
Uh-huh.
Costa Mesa, California, I used to frequent the Harp Inn in Costa Mesa, and
Okay.
and a band there called the Finians, and they were an Irish band that were playing. And I had the most fun when I was a kid. I'd blow half my paycheck at those nights, just showing up, listening to music, buying drinks, dancing with every woman in the place, and having a
Yeah.
great time. And it brought it back. Listening to you guys brought that back for me. The first time I saw it, and it was that same energy and the same thing. And when I heard you talk in your normal voice, not the Irish tinted singing voice, I was like, "Oh, look, he's not an Irish guy. I was sure you were an Irish guy." But anyway, that was a fantastic energy and stuff, and you bring a lot of that to your work. And you're a working Las Vegas musician, which is not an easy thing to be.
Well, I was.
It was, right. Right now, it's really difficult. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So anyway, long story short, I might actually include that little intro part in this because I think it's relevant.
Okay.
Andy, why don't you introduce yourself and let people know who you are and a little bit about what you do?
All right. Well, my name's Andy Morris. I play in Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I've been playing in that band for 18 years. It'll be 18 years, or it was 18 years in April. So, been doing it a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Irish pubs, probably I want to say between 3 and 5 maybe nights a week.
Right.
For about that long, consistently for that long. Like this is the longest time we've ever been off in 18 years.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, by a mile.
It's pretty difficult. This virus has really made a huge impact on that industry for sure.
Oh yeah.
It relies on communing, people coming together.
Yeah, like
we need that clearly right now, right?
Yeah, like I realized like when this happened that everything I do requires an audience, like, and those are like not allowed. Those are unsafe.
Right. Have you been doing? And I apologize if you have been and I haven't seen it. I've just been busy. But have you been doing things online? Have you guys been?
We've been doing a few things. We did on St. Patrick's Day, or everything got canceled around the 15th.
Right.
So the 15th of March. So we decided we were going to do a live stream. And we did that on St. Patrick's Day.
Right.
But like, it just wasn't, I don't think it's something we could conceivably do like safely as a group, right. just from cramping all in the same room. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it difficult. Was there like a tip system set up or something where people?
And we did really well. We had, I want to say 150 some viewers through most of it, and made like, I think around $1,500. So it was a good day. It was better than nothing. It would have been better if we played the 3 jobs we had, but.
So this isn't what talk is about, but I'm just throwing out the suggestion. What if you guys were actually in the same room, separate, but each person had their own cell phone and you're all doing it on a Zoom, but you're in the same room and everybody but one person is muted. So is that a difficult thing to do?
I think the hard part about that is timing, because there's always going to be a little bit of latency. And when you're playing music, just a little bit of latency will throw everything off.
No. I'm saying you're in the same room playing live, but each person has their own cell phone. So you can see each band member individually.
Well, yeah, but the problem is us infecting each other by playing in the same room.
Oh, okay, yeah, but I was thinking like, social distancing within the room. I know it'd have to be a big room, but you know what I mean? Like maybe 7 feet apart or whatever it has.
You might be able to do something like that. I don't know how it would sound.
Right. Right, but, because you're out of one microphone on the thing, it might be difficult, right?
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm not sure how that would sound.
Right, but anyway, it was just a thought. But anyway, let's not get into that. That's not what we're here to talk about. But so you, why Irish music? Why were you drawn to Irish music?
I in 2000, I want to say 2002. Yeah, I think 2002. I got a job at Roxy's Diner,
Mhm.
the singing, dancing diner in the Stratosphere,
I didn't know you
and
did.
that's where I met the accordion player, Ringo. That's where I met him.
Okay.
So we were talking and stuff, but Napster had just like come out a little while before that,
Mhm.
and Napster, as questionably ethical as it was, introduced me to a shitload of new music, like music that I, you know, because this is you probably remember this when you had to buy music, like
Like,
in
well,
order to hear it, to try it out, you had to
right.
like spend money on it.
Right. Yeah. I used to run warehouse entertainment
Yeah,
music stores
yeah.
back in the
So
day.
like there were so many artists that people like loved and revered and talked about, but I wasn't ready to shell out, 15 bucks on a CD that I'd never heard before or didn't know anything about.
Right.
That was hard to do. But with Napster, I spent way more money on music because I would discover them on Napster and then go buy the stuff,
Sure.
which I don't know if everybody did that, but I did that. And that's how I found Tom Waits. But that's how I found all this Irish stuff.
Right.
That's how I found the Pogues.
Right.
I had known about Fairy Tale in New York for a little while. Like I'd known about that song. Um, but then I really got into like even the traditional stuff. I got into all that stuff, and it was all at my fingertips at Napster. So I had a giant file full of Irish music, and then like all
Yeah.
these Irish pubs started to open.
I think it was one of those things that you didn't even know what you're downloading half the time when you're downloading stuff on that. It's just hey, I'll see what shows up.
Yeah, yeah. Some of it was mislabeled. Some of it was,
right.
but whatever the case, I found tons and tons of great stuff. I basically developed our whole initial set list from stuff I'd found on Napster.
Yeah.
All over the place. Little like local acts their MP3 would be the local acts from like an Irish band like the Tossers. The Tossers
Yeah.
were around back
They're a
then.
great band. Yeah.
They've been around longer than us, and I remember finding their stuff on Napster. They were just like a local Chicago band.
Right.
They were like regionally popular.
I actually, it's funny. Mine was different, and it wasn't through Napster, but I've been a Clash fan forever.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie Straight to Hell. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. The Pogues are in it. They're like banditos. They're like Mexican banditos with Irish accents, right? And they played some songs. And Strummer was a huge Pogues fan, huge. And then I was introduced into it, and then I started doing some searching into it, and I found Rum, Sodomy, and the Lash.
Oh yeah,
and
that's a great record.
And that fantastic record, and there was this beauty to the music that really introduced me to all of it. I did a deep dive into Irish music in general, and there's this. It comes from so much suffering. It's a lot like the blues, where it came from the suffering of people, and they're not afraid of being sad.
Yeah,
and they're not afraid of seeing the joy in the sadness.
Right.
There's a lot, and Tom Waits is like that too. He has that quote. It's something like, "I love beautiful melodies telling you terrible things."
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. That's why I think that I relate to you in some ways musically. I think because that's what it's about. It's about music that makes you feel something, right?
Yeah,
I think it's really important. I think that's especially okay. Let's just get right now with what's going on. Okay, with everything, with the violence and the rioting and stuff like that, there is a chord being struck in, no pun intended, in the entire country, across the world, because of this one incident. This has happened before, but it's slightly different now, and I think it has something to do with COVID and everything that's going on, and everybody's up to here with everything.
Yeah.
Music has been trying to express this danger of humanity getting to that level by throwing out hints for a long time. I mean, punk rock has tried to do this through irony, and it was always misunderstood. Everybody doesn't understand. Punk was trying to be ironic, right? When Joe Biafra sang "Kill the Poor," he didn't mean kill the poor, right? It was
satire.
It was satire, and that's where the mistake was. Nobody got it, right? rap music does the same thing to some extent. I'm not a rap fan, but I understand why it exists and why it's
Yeah.
there. And Irish music did it more eloquently, and but did also the same thing. I think it tapped
Yeah.
into something deep. And you helped me very recently with an idea
Yeah.
I had for the Vegas nights. I'll throw a
Oh,
link.
yeah.
Why not? Where you sang and your band played. I rewrote a Pogue song, and you did a fantastic job with that. I have no idea. I had so many people when I shared it that said like that should be the song that gets played at the stadium.
Did you ever try to get it to the? There's a guy.
I did, and he sent me an
Yeah?
email, and he said that's great, thanks.
Oh, really?
That was it. That's all I got. I tried my best
What a
to put it
bummer.
up as much as I could, and it's one of those things. And I think it gets a lot of views. A lot of people like to watch it. Like I said, I'll put a link here so people can listen to that. But also, there'll be links to your stuff, all of your stuff, and out there for people to see and hear.
Okay.
But and I think that's important. But anyway, I'm talking too much. So so we don't know.
One second.
what your plan is.
Give me 1 second. I gotta let this dog in. She's scratching.
Sounds good. So one of the things, and you don't have to answer to this, I'm just saying this. One of the things I was hoping that maybe you would do, since I've got a musician, is maybe play something. Maybe they play something. Give someone a taste of what it is that you do. I've sat
Yeah,
through.
you could probably do that.
Yeah, I've sat through a lot of your songs and enjoyed it very much. I remember the first time my daughter heard your band. She was totally obsessed with the fiddler. She was stunning, but she was really like laser focused on her. And I don't remember who she was. I don't remember who her name was. But this was like
Her
a decade
stage
ago.
name is Nancy Whiskey.
Oh, okay. Well,
And,
she
her
was
name is
fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like definitely Beauty and the Beast, you two there next to each other. It was fantastic. But anyway, so any thoughts on something, that you wanted to maybe try playing?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had an idea
Mm-hmm.
to do a Tom Waits song.
Oh, man, that would make me happy. He is kind of my favorite.
But I've never played it before.
Oh, even better. This is creative courage, man. This is creative courage. I think this is what this is about.
I don't know how it'll go.
This is perfect. This is exactly what makes me happy. Okay, for young musicians out there, this is what it takes. Jumping in, trying something new. If you don't even know how it's going to be, trust your instincts, trust your abilities, and just move.
Sun come up, it was blue and gold. Sun come up, it was blue and gold. Sun come up, it was blue and gold. Ever since I put your picture in a frame, I'm gonna love you till the wheels come off. Oh, yeah. I come calling in my Sunday best. I come calling in my Sunday best. I come calling in my Sunday best. Ever since I put your picture in a frame. Ever since I put your picture in a frame.
That's fantastic. Willie Nelson covered that.
Did he?
Yeah, Willie Nelson covered that. It was fantastic. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people cover Tom, and that was a really beautiful rendition of that. That's not an easy song to sing,
It's pretty easy.
Is it really? I imagine it would be. Well, for me, I guess.
Yeah, that's a cool thing about Tom Waits is Tom Waits songs are, unless you sing them like Tom Waits, they're not really too crazy in the note department, which is really cool because the message shines through a lot better.
Well,
and
the
writing
writing
is all really good.
He's probably one next to it's arguable, but I think he's one of America's best songwriters. I mean, as far
I
as
do too,
lyrics,
and underrated.
A lot. You know, it's funny. He's a musician's musician. You know. I
Yeah,
like.
that's true.
Yeah, I think a lot of musicians appreciate him. I think that. Anyway, that's somebody to look at. See, this is when I talk to a lot of, I talk about creativity a lot. I don't know if you know this, but I do this creative courage thing where I do a lot of workshops. I talk to people about creativity. I wrote a book about creativity, creative courage. And when I talk to young people about musicians that want to be musicians, that like looking for creative careers and want to be musicians, and aren't sure, or they're intimidated because they know it's hard and it's, what am I going to do? And everybody wants to be a star and play stadiums and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, when I start talking about it, I kind of suggest that forget about all that nonsense. Like, who do you like? Who are the artists that move you musically?
Mm-hmm.
And then the advice I give them is to, and I don't know if you agree with this, but is to find out who moves those artists. Look at interviews, find out who moved them. And then when you find those people, find out who moved them. And eventually you'll get to Robert Johnson. I think
that's pretty much the case. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that eventually it comes down, but what happens when you go through that process, I think is interesting, is you'll find, okay, I like Tom Waits. And then I go down the line of who influenced him. And then you'll find, wait a minute, that's an artist that another person I like is influenced by. And then everything starts to kind of click, that there's a genre that's not always the same within the same genre. Actually, there's artists like Peter Gabriel I love Peter Gabriel a lot. For a lot of the same reasons I like Tom Waits, but it's totally different music.
Right.
And then you find that area where they kind of come together. And Peter Gabriel, I hear him do a Tom Waits song. He did The Neighborhood. He did practically a cappella of The Neighborhood. It's just him and a piano. And he did this beautiful rendition of it. And he talked about how he thought Tom Waits is just a beautiful songwriter and one of the best songwriters. And I'm like, yeah, and I like you too. you know what I mean? What you're hearing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really interesting how they intersect. So what do you tell young musicians when you meet them? I mean, you give them advice?
You say, get away from me, kid. I'm trying to drink my drink.
Go buy me a Guinness and maybe we'll talk.
It's been a while since anyone's asked me for advice, but my advice to any young musician would be find an idea and pursue that, because I think too many times people have this like abstract concept about being an artist and not like this focused concept,
Yeah.
Like when I was before I started the Irish band, I was in a hip hop band called the Kickworms. And it was like one of those like white boy hip hop acts,
Sure.
Back in the 90s, or an early 2000s. And we had a great time. It was the same spirit. It was really fun. We drank a lot and it was really funky. And like, it was more in the line of like Parliament Funkadelic, it was more that kind of bass and drum driven stuff. But still, like, we had this idea and we focused on that idea and we were really, really popular here in town. And then with Darby, it was the same thing. I had this idea and you expound on this idea rather than this big scatter shot. And if you want to do it to be famous, you're going to create shit art, know?
Yeah. Cause it's not what you're being driven by. I think that's it's just like anything else. Whenever you try to start something, it starts from this abstract fire that you have in you,
Yeah.
Anything good that you ever did was hard. It should be hard. It should be hard to start. And, if it's hard, I mean, I'm sure that when you were starting out, I mean, looking back at the time when you first grabbed the guitar and started learning how to play to now, to where you literally just now played a song out of I know that's totally nothing for musicians and for you to just grab a guitar and kind of go. But for someone who doesn't play an instrument, it looks like magic to them. It looks like how do you do that? The complexities of understanding chord progression and what notes work, and how to put those together, and the timing, and how do you know if I try to? It's like doing three things at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it seems like magic. But when people actually take the time, there's a lot of things that they do that require that same energy that they
there are some things I look at like magic, like stand-up comedy.
Oh my God.
Stand-up comedy is to me is like the hardest art
Yeah.
form,
Yeah.
you know,
No
and I
question.
kind of dabble in it in our act, you know. We joke around a lot. We have a lot of like in between song banter where we have, you know, bits that we've fostered throughout the years,
Sure.
you know, but if an audience is like dying on me, I just go, all right, here's Freebird. And then I got them back.
Jump into Rocky Road to
You know,
Dublin.
I've got this really easy crutch to lean on.
Right. Exactly.
You know, when you're out there, when you're a stand-up comic and it's going bad, you just got to muscle through.
This is
Like
true.
there's nothing you can do about that.
This
You know,
is-
you got to just stand up there and fail and then go home. You know, like so it's just such a delicate art form. Like I remember doing a joke one time that just slayed, and it wasn't anything I thought about. It just came out
Mhm.
of a conversation that me and Tristan were having, and it just absolutely annihilated. And I'm like, that was so good. We have to recreate that,
Right.
right? So we tried that, right? I said, you need to say this, and then I'll say this, and then we'll do the punchline. And we must have tried that 20 times, and it never ever even got a giggle after that first time, you know. And we were trying to like recreate it like to the T, like exactly that, and we just couldn't get it. It just didn't, because it didn't come out of that organic place at that certain time in front of that certain crowd. It wasn't funny. So it's just so delicate, and it's like that'd be the scariest thing to do.
Well, I do have a philosophy as to probably why that happened. It's
Why
in my
is
book.
that?
Well, because I think that one thing about creatives, it's just like in a lot of ways like music. The way our brain works, it's like you probably can't build that guitar you just played. You
Yeah,
don't know how to build it, but boy,
right.
you can play it. I
Yeah.
think that's how we are with our minds. We don't. A lot of us don't understand how it works, but some of us know how to use it better than others. Creatives have figured something out. You have your conscious and your subconscious. Your conscious is what we're using right now, but your subconscious is this thing that you have. It's part of your brain you don't control. It's a part of your brain that is. It's almost like having a superpower friend that's with you, and he's in your subconscious. And every idea you have is doled out by hints from your subconscious. So you're sitting in a room, your subconscious is aware of what's going on, but again, you can't control it. You can only program it. Like you said, I like music, and your subconscious said, okay, I'm going to pay attention to anything that has to do with music, and anything that has to be music that's cool and relevant emotionally to you, I'm going to keep it. And then when you play the guitar, I'm going to start doling that out to you, and that's where your inspiration comes from. So I think that's what's happened in that room. You're in a room, in a situation, in the environment, and the things, and everything came to a head and came together, and your subconscious gave you something that made you feel an idea, and you made the joke, and it just felt right because it came from there. If your subconscious isn't giving that to you and you're trying to manufacture it, this is why comedy is hard, because
Because
everything has to feel.
emulate that, right?
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to. I mean, a lot of people.
Well, I think with stand-up comedy, you have to. Like that is stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
is making it all feel like the first time it's ever happened.
And the crowd has to be with you. See, if the crowd is paying to see you because they've laughed at you before and they're ready to laugh at you, you could cough and they'll laugh. You know, it's because they're ready for you. But when you're a musician, there's a new crowd. Yeah, they're looking for reasons not to like you, which is a tough situation.
It's something I've always wanted to try, but have never had the guts to do yet.
My business partner tried
it. What's that?
My business partner tried it, and he said it was the hardest thing he ever tried to do.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I kind of got a heads up on it because I've kind of been doing it for a long time. So I kind of have maybe a little bit of a head start just because I've been making jokes in front of crowds for a long time, you know, like it's not exactly what I did, but it was a subset of what I did, you know? So I feel like I might have an edge on it, but I know that I'm going to go up there and just tank.
Well, you carry you and your group. I mean, you guys have lived in music. You've been playing music in front of people for a long time. So now it doesn't take a lot of courage for you to get in front of people and play.
No.
The first time you did it, though, I imagine it was pretty hard, right?
No, actually, I've been entertaining since I was three or four. My dad taught me how to do impressions when I was 3.
Okay.
And then he put me on stages and took me to talent shows and stuff.
Oh,
And
that's
I
cool.
ended up, when I was 4 years old, I ended up on an HBO special. HBO was like brand new back then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think it was 1980. I think it was
Mhm.
1980. And I ended up on an HBO special with Rich Little.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
the whole gag of the Rich Little thing was he was going to go out in the audience and prove that anybody could do impressions, but everybody in the audience he went to was plants.
Of course.
And I was the big finale of that bit, right? So he went to me and I did impressions with him, and we did like a scene from Maltese Falcon together, and
Wow.
you know, and
That's
and
great.
so entertaining has just been kind of just in my bones since I was.
Yeah.
I don't even remember like the first time I went out on stage.
Mhm.
You know, I was going out on stage before I had memories. So
Well,
it's always I'm never nervous to do it. I'm always excited to do it.
well, that's the thing is, well, the ring. What I was getting at was basically because with these videos I'm doing, my hope is that young people watch them and they
Uh-huh.
see people who are actively using their creativity in a successful way. They're
Uh-huh.
finding ways to use it, and they get permission from you and people like you and people
Uh-huh.
that are creatives to give it a shot and to try to at least make the effort, because I honestly do believe this. I know it sounds cliche, but I really do believe that the best solutions that we're going to find, they're going to fix all the BS that we're dealing with right now, are going to be from creatives, are going to be from people
Uh-huh.
who are able to look at data and find new solutions to things, people who are willing to explore our capacity to solve problems in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You're a musician, but you're a problem solver too. You're someone who I'll bet you're good at fixing stuff. You're probably not, or even giving advice to people, or just you see things that maybe slightly differently because it if it moves you, it's worthwhile. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's all I want, and that's my hope is that people sit there and they go, you know what, maybe I'm not trying hard enough, because it's not what's happening right. I have a You have kids?
No.
I have a 16-year-old daughter who's on fire right now. She is ready to do a lot of, she's 16, but she's ready to take on the world right now. She's so angry about everything.
Uh-huh.
And I'm dealing with this irrational anger that's coming from a really good place. And I don't want to squash it,
Right.
but I know she's going to be disappointed. I know she's going her vision of what she wants and she demands from the world, it's not going to give her what she wants.
Right.
Music taps into that. I think that frustration we have and want to express it to masses.
Yeah. I mean that struggle to right wrongs, to even personal, like to deal with lost love, or anything that you feel is like moves you. I think that yeah, music is a great way to deal with all that. It's a great way to like put things in perspective in a poetic way, and not a real nuts and bolts kind of way. It speaks more to the soul.
I don't know if you saw my interview with my former art teacher, Tom Dowling. If you didn't, I'd love for you to watch it. He's a pretty amazing guy. He's hugely influential. I mean, one of the things he said in the interview was he talked about music. How there people need to, when you're talking, he's a fine artist, so he does paintings and he does sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
People need to willingly say, I'm going to spend time with this piece of artwork and absorb it and take it in and
Mm-hmm.
feel something from it.
Yeah.
Music is one of the most powerful art forms because there is just this open willingness that people have to dive in and take in a song or take in
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
and let it just engulf them and feel emotion. And it doesn't matter if you know the language. It doesn't matter. Music is so universally something that we allow to move us, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of sounds and a lot of times, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
but you can play a guitar and make it speak to people with chords. I know you can. I know I've heard it before in a way that makes you feel something. That's kind of an interesting thing to think about. And I think that somebody that's just learning how to play guitar, they're just learning chords, they're not thinking that far ahead. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking that eventually this instrument, and you're trying to find the mechanics of it, eventually that's going to be so natural then that you start to be able to just speak through it. And
right. Yeah.
that's what you're going for, right? Nuances.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
getting
really
weird.
Cool, it's a really cool concept. You know, the whole art in general, I think, is a really cool concept, and where it comes from and how it's developed and the craft and just everything about it. I really, really like.
I think people need to start thinking about the fact that we have to find a way to bring it back. Live music, you know, the venue.
Yeah, I don't know. I think without a vaccine, I don't know how we're going to do that unless we just decide to ignore it.
Or at least miss the crap out of it, so that when we do get a vaccine, it becomes a priority. I mean, what's his name? God, I can't believe I forgot his name. Foo Fighters.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah, Dave Grohl. He wrote something about
I saw that.
Yeah, about the first show after all of this, right? I haven't read it, but just hearing that that's what the theme was, I almost feel like I did, just because I can imagine the first live show we see after all this is going to be epic, you know?
Yeah, Dave Grohl is always a good commentator on stuff like this. He really knows the right things to say.
Anyway, all right, so we've gone a good half hour on this thing. Did you have anything you want to talk about? Anything maybe that you're working on? Maybe you guys have an album that you're selling that people can maybe find your music and
I mean, we have old records, but if you just go on our Facebook page, that's pretty much all the stuff we're doing. And right now we're just, you know, on hiatus.
Right.
Next week, I think I'm going to meet with the whole band on Zoom, and we're going to figure out a path forward, because I think we're going to expound more. If we can't do anything live, then we're going to really start working on digital stuff, music videos, recordings, which is something we really haven't done. Like the thing with Darby that is kind of the bad part, but I'm also the good part, is it's been a job for so long. It's been how we make our living, that we get to the point where we're just kind of showing up to the gigs, playing the songs and going home. You know, like we're a cover band now that works in all these like casinos, and McMullen's is like our favorite place to work because it's a local place. They don't care what you say. You know, we're able to do whatever we want there. But like that phoning it in aspect just got a little heavy the last few years. So I think we're all in a place right now, and the virus was terrible and all, but I think it might rebirth the band into something new or kill it. I don't know which. I hope it's I hope it's a phoenix rising from the ashes and not ashes.
No. I think you guys will make it through on this thing. You got a lot of good people there in that band and everything. We had a good time. I appreciate you guys.
We had a lot of good ideas.
I appreciate you guys letting me pay you with beer. That was great. I appreciate that helped me out quite a bit, because it was just an idea that just came out of nothing. But anyway, thanks for making the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, Alex. Thank you, man.